This is truly one of the most incredible Magnus Carlsen games I've seen this entire year. He played it in Title Tuesday, 21st of November. His opponent is a top 20 in the world player in classical chess, Quang Liem. No slouch at all, and what Magnus does to him here is ridiculous. So his opponent, Liem, plays a sensible opening, and what does he get hit with? Magnus is black here. He gets hit with the double bishop, crossfire, Magnus not even fighting for the center with any pawns, and it just continues and gets better here. So d4, very sensible. Surely Magnus now commits a pawn in the middle. No, knight f6. c4, white saying fine, I'll take more space. Now we get castles, d5, more space, surely Magnus now fights for it, e6, c6, d6, I don't know, but no, he goes knight a6, putting that one on the edge of the board, and after knight c3, alright, this is getting ridiculous, surely we're going to see some central pawn push, but no. Knight c5 comes. Still all of these ones just sat there like this stagnant trio. Magnus is just playing with fire, but you can't yet go b4. Doesn't work. You weaken this diagonal. e4 is under Magnus's control, so you can hop with either one of the knights, and there's problems here, problems down here. Black is fine. So coming back, no b4. We see bishop e3 now played. Not the most precise move. You know, the computer preferred queen c2, fighting for the e4 square. But okay, Magnus now finally goes e6, chipping away at the center, and look at the clock for white here. Just starts burning a bit of time, you know, 15 seconds there, 10 seconds the next move. Magnus just loves to bamboozle with these tricky openings. Now it looks like Magnus can win a pawn here, but that one is immune. If you capture, well, there's this simple tactic, king recaptures, and then you go like this, you win a piece. And coming back here, by the way, if instead you flick in this one, well, it doesn't work, the bishop drops back and takes. So don't touch the pawn. Magnus goes rook e8, opening up the eyes of that rook. We now get knight d2, and because it now covers the e4 square very firmly in white's control, b4 is a big threat. So a5 played to stop that one. And this bishop not taking, by the way, shattering the pawns because you give black all of the dark squared play that they're looking for. You know, you want to get an exchange going here. So rook e1 now played, not an immediate e4, because then there's this bishop a6 stuff coming, hitting the rook, knight d3, big themes of that in the air. Magnus goes d6, still saying fine, if e4, I'm hopping with the knight. So white now holds off, still burning time, and doesn't play the best move. a3 was best. But a4 played after a pretty decent think. You know, look at that, a minute down almost, already on the clock. But it's a mistake which Magnus pounces on in just a moment. So we get bishop a6, and now this is the real kicker of a mistake for white. They let some opening advantage go, weakening this b4 square especially, but now the queen shouldn't go on c2. You know, top moves here, h3, knight f3, rook b1, okay, but queen c2 played, such a natural developing move, but it walks into a tactical shot. Magnus, in an instant, just sees this stuff. He plays this stuff. This is the first brilliancy. He captures the pawn on d5. And this looks impossible. You're opening this here. You know, what are you playing at? All this pressure. And here's the point. So after bishop takes here, these tactics don't work if the pawn's on a3. Because if the king recaptures, well, now it's no good. The knight takes here. White is simply winning a piece. But that's not Magnus's idea, to recapture the bishop. He wants to flick in knight b4. And the computer says that white should have actually played this. And now because that b4 square was weakened, the queen went to c2. Well, it has to retreat. Then you recapture the bishop. Yes, white wins the exchange, but Magnus has huge compensation and a pawn. So this is the point of the tactics, right? Quite a lot going on here. Now, what was played in the game, well, instead of captures here, which was still best, we see captures here. You know, white a bit off balance. Whoa, where did that come from? Tactical shot. Then compounds the mistake by giving up the dark squared bishop. Now, by the way, if recaptures immediately, well, you're going to be down a piece. So Magnus has to take here first. 2 pieces hanging, but if you try and retreat this bishop, well, the knight takes on e2 with check, converging with the bishop, everything working for Magnus. So pawn recaptures played. Now Magnus takes here, and now when the smoke's cleared here on the tactics, what do we see? Well, Magnus is a pawn up here, but there's a kicker at the end of the tail, which is white can take this rook on a8. This is the first of a double exchange sacrifice. So Magnus recaptures with the queen. What's he got for that exchange sack? Well, a pawn as mentioned, but also this amazing open board for his bishops. These rooks still a bit stuck, looking clumsy. Now e4, the best move as indicated. f3 to then come, you know, try and bolster this diagonal. Then start manoeuvring with this knight, which is a bit dead on this square. But knight f1 played immediately, you know, Liem looking to batten down the hatches. There's a storm on the way here, and our Magnus plays the most Magnus move ever, right? I mean, everyone and his dog is playing queen c6 there, preparing bishop b7, let's go, rah, checkmate that king, right? But that was not played. Magnus goes queen e4. This guy loves an endgame. I mean, who goes into the endgame here? But sure enough, if captures and captures, black does keep an advantage. You know, these pawns are miserable. If that one ever drops, how fast is the a pawn potentially running? But taking was best. It is the engine's top move by quite some margin. But Liem ducks it, goes queen b2. Magnus camped out in the heads of his opponent. And look at this one. It's babysitting a pawn, babysitting a rook, which is babysitting a pawn, which is babysitting another rook, babysitting a pawn. Liem needs to open his own creche right now. Those are some miserable babysitting pieces. And now Magnus goes queen c4. Again, the most Magnus positional move. You know, you could have gone bishop b7 there to threaten some nasties, but he wants to sit on this pawn. It's like a sumo wrestler, just tying that one down, sat on its head. What to do? Rook a3 covers it, but now h5. Here comes the tin opener, looking to rip open this jumbo baked bean. Get at it, try and eat it. And now we see Liem go wrong in serious time pressure. Number 19 in the world, 2 minutes down on the clock nearly. What he should do is queen d2 for a very specific tactical reason, as well as activating a bit. But knight e3 played immediately. Of course, Magnus has to move his queen, right?
Nope, wrong again.
But that is not what he does. Good luck, guess the move with Magnus. He goes rook takes on e3. What an absolute thunderbolt. Shades of the Mamedyarov classic played earlier this year, and an Alexander Alekhine classic came to my mind, where he left the rook on e3, a collinear move. He didn't actually smash a piece. There's another term to go away and look up. Now the pawn recaptures, of course, and this was the point of the queen on d2. It could have taken there instead of the pawn, and now Magnus sits on e4, just stifling these pawns. Look how horrible they are, killing the rooks. Bishop b7 on the way, threatening mate, and the best defense to try and arrange here is king f2. If bishop b7, rook g1, but Magnus retains advantage, something like this, coming after pawns. The bishop's still wonderful. But what we see in the game is rook f1, and now if you go bishop b7, well, Liem wants to arrange some kind of defense like this. So Magnus takes with check. Now we see rook f2. The bishop does come to b7. Ideas again of queen e4, getting onto the diagonal, getting down here. So queen c2 comes to cover that square, and this is such a classy positional move. You know, you want to bring this piece into the attack. Imagine if it could sit on d4 if there wasn't a pawn there. Well, Magnus goes via another route here with the excellent pawn to c4. Look where that sniper is now headed to put the finishing touches. White is moribund. How to kill them off? Well, we get queen d1. going for counterplay down there, and now Magnus sets a very sneaky trap. You know, top move of the engine, queen e4, or bishop c6, or queen e7, that would have been miserable. But Magnus goes bishop f8, carrying on, very normal, and there's only one move which keeps white alive here, which is rook a1, moving it back. But queen d8 played, finally, for the first time, white gets some breathing room. Let's pin that bishop, try and set up some threats, but loose pieces drop off. Queen c1 check, the rook comes back, this one drops. Bye-bye. Ouch. Magnus is now killing it. He's just won a whole rook for nothing. Now watch how he puts the finishing touch on here. And just before I show it, I hope you've enjoyed this one. Please do hit like, massively helps me out. And if you regularly watch, not yet subscribed, do consider to never miss a future video. So what does Magnus do here? Well, after queen c7, looking for some play against this bishop, you can go bishop c5 check. Stockfish tells me it's mate in 10, but why go mate in 10 when you can swap the queens and grind in an endgame? Magnus just wants to torture here. So after this queen trade offered, Liem just resigns. Look at that clock situation, just insane. And if you recapture, okay, endgame is dead lost. You know, this pawn will drop, or this one, king marches in, whatever, you know, just absolutely hopeless. What a crushing game from Magnus Carlsen. I hope you enjoyed this one. Do check out the video on screen for another epic game of chess, and see you soon.